right, welcome back to another episode of Got This in Black. It's Tuckernuck, and to my writer, we have the other half of the podcast.
Hi, friends.
How
y'all doing?
How you doing today?
Y'all look good, I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you're just like driving your car in your PJs and listening. But you still look good. That skin is glowing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Probably bundled up because it's cold. Very, very cold. So as we welcome you today, we always have a special guest with us, so keep that theme going. To my right, we have a special guest. So why don't you introduce yourself and let the people know what you do?
I appreciate it. My name is Foster White. I'm a photographer, and I run a photo department at a company called Tuckernuck in DC.
Yes. Thank you for welcome to the podcast. How are you feeling?
Thank you for having me. I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel good. Yeah, I shockingly had to change a tire today, so my wallet wasn't ready for that. But, I'm still driving, though.
Life
still
happens.
on the road.
Life
Yeah.
happens.
Car's still on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So it's going to be a very good discussion today. I'm excited. But before we start, we have to talk about the fits. So let's talk about what we have on. We can start with Andima. Go ahead, kick us
Why
off.
you always start with me? You start.
Okay, I'm starting off today. I don't want no drama today. I've been getting beat up because I'm not a Beyonce fan the past couple episodes. So I'm just I'm still trying to recover.
It's dicey.
Little ice on the swollen wounds. So I have on. You can't see the shirt, but on the back it says "Can't Colonize the Vibe." I believe it's from Nappy Head Club. I have on some kicks from Sia Collective, which is a Black-owned brand out in San Francisco. This vest was sourced by Feivorite Gems. They're a sustainable brand, upcycled, located in Maryland as well too. So yeah, that's what I have on. What do you have on?
Oh, I get to go next. Okay, cool. Let's see. I guess starting at the bottom, some of my favorite sneakers, Onitsuka Tiger out of Japan.
Okay.
I actually have a lot of Japanese on today. The pants are from a company called S&S. I'm sure sneaker clubs or sneakerheads, they're probably familiar with this brand, but I just like their clothing, honestly. So cargo pants from them. Watch Casio.
I love this watch, by the way. Y'all need to see the details. I
Yeah,
got
this watch is
a little
fly.
like
I
keyboard
appreciate it.
situation.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm kind of a weirdo when it comes to fashion, where things have to be functional for me to even bother with it.
Yeah.
So even with my accessories, they end up being functional. In fact, going down the theme of accessories, this chain, propane from my homie Tommy, he makes these chains himself, but I use it because I keep my keys on it. So
Okay.
never lose the Prius keys.
Okay.
Also, Kiana, out of Southeast DC. It's the satchel, and then the shirt is Adidas, but it's the Something in the Water shirt from this year, because I was lucky enough to work on the
Shout
photo
out
team.
Skateboard Pete, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to make sure I keep a little bit of a memory from this summer on it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes.
I love clothing with a story.
Yes.
All right, what am I wearing? So as usual, Knature The Label jewelry, the rings. And I just want to get more and more rings from her.
Sponsor us. I would love some
I'm
jewelry.
addicted.
Knature The Label too.
They're very fly rings.
Yeah. And then these cargo pants are Dreams of Triumph. I couldn't even tell you what collection, but I just was really feeling green and cargo pants. So, and I like how they have this kind of ribbon detailing on them.
Yeah, no, those are dope.
Top is Kith. This is actually a recent purchase out from our trip to LA. Went to the Kith out there. It's actually the first time I'd ever been in the Kith store.
Okay.
I don't know if they have, I'm sure they have one in New York.
Yeah, they
I
definitely
don't
have one
think
in
they
New
have
York.
one in DC, but they should get one in DC.
I wouldn't be mad at it.
Yeah, I don't think they have one in DC
Come on down.
currently, but
Come to DC. And then these are just some Converse that are just fun because they're got a little bit of a Sherpa like
little
material.
texture.
Yeah.
I like texture.
What is this called? Boucle? I don't know, y'all.
I like Sherpa. Sherpa sounded
Yeah.
nice.
Sherpa. I think Sherpa gets the picture across.
Yeah, I definitely want to be comfy today. I've been putting on for y'all. I just wanted to relax a little bit today.
You deserve it.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So now we got the fits going, and now we get into our first segment. So this segment we're gonna call what we call Rock, Stock, or Drop. This is a got this going for season 3. So I'm gonna give you 3 items. You're gonna rock one, meaning you wear it once. Stock one, meaning you keep it in the closet forever. and drop one, meaning you got to let this go. So I tried to make these difficult for guests. I'm not sure if this is going to be super difficult for you today.
Drop.
Yes, because
3 times fast.
Yes, rock, stock, or drop, rock, stock, or drop.
I thought it
rock,
was
stock, or drop.
Whoa, he's a pro. All right.
I thought it was like drop, stock, or cop. Wait,
Also
say it
makes
again.
sense.
Rock, stock, drop. RSD, rock, stock, or drop.
This is really bad that like I'm on this podcast and I can't even get it right.
Listen.
But I like it. It's lit. Great branding, Chuck.
Thank you.
He's
Thank
good
you.
at this. He does this.
Came to me one day while I was thinking how we can better the podcast.
Probably in the shower. All good ideas happen in the shower.
So, all right. So today's actually we're going to do a rock, stock, or drop sneaker edition.
Oh boy.
So rock, stock, or drop. We got a pair of ice creams, a pair of Vans mid-top half cab, and a pair of Onitsuka Tigers that you have on.
This guy's got inside knowledge on me.
Yes. So you got to rock one, stock one, and drop one.
Drop one. Okay. Well, rock, I got to go ice creams just because, I mean, I loved owning a pair when I was a kid. I loved skating in them. I sort of regret skating in them because I dogged them joints. I mean, I use them for what they're for.
Right.
But I wish I had a pair right now. I'm not even going to Google the price of them, though.
Yeah, probably crazy.
Yeah, I know. Oh, all right. So,
might.
Don't tell me. If you look it up, don't tell me. Actually, tell me. But so that's what I got to rock. Stock is what? It's keep it in the closet.
Mm-hmm. You get to have it forever.
Yeah. I gotta do Vans in the closet just because those are my road dogs. It's like they'll hold me down through almost anything. And I'm gonna drop the Onitsuka Tiger. Sorry,
that
loves.
hurts.
I know, and I got them on today, but
That's
I think-
brutal.
but here's
I
my
did
cheat code:
this.
is I would buy a pair for my lady, and I would just live vicariously through her. That's what I would do.
I like that. I like that. See, I thought you were going to. When I did this, I was like, I think he's gonna wear the Vans, so rock the Vans. I thought you were gonna stock the Onitsuka Tiger and let go of the ice cream. So you went completely different
Okay,
than
all
what
right,
I
there we
thought
go.
I was.
You know, the
Okay.
Vans will get me through anything. So
That's true.
yeah.
That's true.
I keep
Built
a clean
for it.
pair. I dress them up. I keep a dogged out pair, and I just do whatever.
Yeah,
You know.
built skater tough. Shout out to Vans. So let's get into your personal story. It was really dope hearing about how you came into who you are from your pre-call. So I definitely want the audience to get a chance to hear that as well too. So talk a little bit about, your earliest child fashion memories as a child, and kind of walk us through like how you even got into photography as well too.
Yeah, I mean, the earliest things I really noticed fashion-wise as a child probably be just my grandmother and my grandfather's fashion. They're just always so on point. My grandfather's a military man, so he was always sharp. And my grandmother quite literally can do whatever she wants with her hands. She's a woodworker. She sews clothes. She does, anything she really wants to. And she refuses to spend a dime on any of it. So she really taught me that, like, your style can actually be super dope, and you really do not need to spend money.
Right.
So she would be notorious for either going to thrift stores, secondhand stores. She has dope finds. Her whole outerwear selection is just all thrifted. It's just, and anywhere
amazing.
she's lived on the planet, she's collected just timeless pieces that last. And she's shown me that type of thing. So those are my earliest fashion memories. I've always, in fact, she's the person that taught me, and I didn't do it today but when I dress up, I'm a big fan of actually bringing a scarf out with me, and not like a neck scarf, actually having one as a belt. Because she was the first person that I saw use a scarf as a belt.
Wow.
And that's one of my favorite things to do with dress pants is I'll take a scarf. I mean, you got to make sure you steam it out, fold it really nice, and then wear it as a belt. And it's just, it really can set off. And I wear a lot of black typically, so it can set off a simple black outfit. And then you can pick whatever scarf you want, whatever fits your vibe. But I wouldn't have even thought of stuff like that if it wasn't for her style.
I like that. Are you wearing that with like a jacket or?
Yeah, usually I wear it with a jacket, or what I'll do is I'll wear it with like a black button down. I'll tuck it in, and usually I try to mask it with like an overcoat or a jacket, like a blazer.
Okay.
One or the other, just so it doesn't draw too much attention, but it's enough to like
Yeah, it's a little pop.
be a little, just a
Touch.
little something.
Paying
Yeah.
attention. Yeah, I like that.
And then how I got into photography was the second one.
Yeah.
How I got into photography, it was really just like through traveling with my dad. He always had a little camera with him, I believe it was a Canon PowerShot.
Okay.
So whenever we would just go on trips, he'd always have it. And I was a pretty restless kid, so he'd always hand me whatever was nearby, just to, like give me something to be preoccupied with. And I would take the camera, and especially at like family reunions, I was notorious for taking photos of the food because that's clearly what I was interested in. So my earliest photos were toy cars, the buffet line at the cookout.
But you were ahead of the curve because everybody taking pictures of their food now. For
Hey,
Instagram.
listen. And what's funny is this the last thing that I'll do these days. I'll never take photos of my food. I get straight to grubbing these days. But
I do all the time, and it's really embarrassing. And it's like I can't stop myself. I'm like, I got to take a picture.
You got to be shameless. You got to be shameless about it. Otherwise, the art ain't gonna be good. So don't even be worried about it.
You want me to stand on the chair?
Hey, listen. If it gets a good shot, if the photo was trash, then I might be like, why'd you do all this? But if the photo's great.
When I was in LA, there are people out there that are committed to
they're serious.
content creation. Like
they get serious.
When we went to breakfast, there was 2 girls there, and it was just like they didn't care. They were getting their content literally like in the walkway or something. They were just like, they were posted up against the wall. They had their tripod going. They were like,
and their little Frenchy bull. They had like a French bulldog. Like I was like,
so not even worried about it.
Dedication.
Not even worried about it.
Like I'm sure she probably has at least 10K on the gram.
Like, listen, and you saw exactly how.
Exactly. So it's like
she'll get busy and she don't care.
Get
if you
the
gotta
content
wait.
on if you got to. Okay, so your dad had the PowerShot. So where along the lines did you get your own camera or start shooting for yourself? Like, did you have your own camera? Or did you do it with like a cell phone, or like how did you start for yourself?
I didn't really get started until high school.
Okay.
And that's when I took Photo 1 class, like most people do. It was just an elective. It got you in the dark room, and that's really where I got hooked. And that's when I started, looking for cameras myself. Something that just wasn't a random thing laying around the house. Like I actually wanted a camera to take with me to, go on my own adventures. That was really the first time that I'd even that had crossed my mind.
Okay.
So it was around the middle of freshman year when I was like, I'm not trying to use the school's camera anymore. Like I need to, and our teacher was wonderful and let us take camera out of the classroom and stuff like that. But that was when I really started looking for, and actually I ended up getting a Canon. I got a Canon T3i.
Okay. Was
my first camera. And that thing held me down for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, it got me through all the fundamentals. Okay. All the fundamentals for sure.
It's a robust camera, Canon.
Oh, yeah.
That'll work for you. With film?
So, no, that one was digital.
That was digital?
That was digital. When I did film, I didn't buy my own film camera until after I'd left high school. While I was in high school, I just used the school's equipment as much as I could.
Got it.
Because if you were still in a class related to photo, they would let you rent the cameras out. You can take them, So it wasn't until I left that and I realized oh, wow, the county had been helping me with this
what
camera.
High school? Because I feel like that's not you went to a public school or
Public school.
Was it like an art school?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like I didn't go to public school, but I don't think the public schools, at least in PG County, I don't think they had just cameras sitting.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let it.
Yeah, let me. My answer was charged. Let me correct myself. It was an arts magnet, but it focused in dance and theater.
Got you.
Okay.
And painting.
Okay.
And I hold a little bit of a grudge because the program that I applied to said visual arts, but then I learned after I got there, it meant every visual art except photography. So I'm a little salty. I've never actually really let it go. But so that's why when you asked me that, my answer was a swift no. But it was an art school, but the photography was the least funded thing. But we did have 7 cameras across all the photo classes.
Okay.
No,
they tried.
They
They
tried.
were like, we won't put it on the
for public
curriculum.
schools, that is amazing.
I took advantage
Yeah.
every
Amazing.
second I possibly could.
Because they will snatch the fun, and the first thing they get snatched is the art department.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
art.
exactly.
Like,
In fact, the darkroom closed down, I think, about 2 years after I graduated. Yeah.
Even in my college, we used to, the Visual Arts Center used to work there. It's pretty much non-existent right now. I used to work in the gallery and the dark room.
It had to be amazing.
It was so much fun. I had a blast. I don't know how I didn't end up in the arts, but.
You did? What? I'm on your show. How you gonna say that?
You're right.
Okay, all right. But nothing gallery specific, I suppose.
Yeah, nothing gallery,
Okay, I
nothing
understand.
photography
For now.
specific.
Yeah.
For now.
Maybe later.
You never
We'll see.
know.
You got plenty of time.
In
Plenty
a
of
decade,
life.
you may just pick back up a camera and you're just a photographer the next 15 years of your life. You just never know.
And as a photographer, I always need a curator. Curators really make art go around.
Yeah, true that.
Because most artists don't, either they're not interested in doing it or they don't have the type of focus to actually get their work out there. So
Right.
People who care about the arts to help circulate it is really impactful.
Yeah. It does take a lot of work, just
Yeah.
like putting it together. So
And having a space to do it is like, that's a big hurdle.
yes. Okay. All right. Points have been made.
See, no, I'm not the one getting get on this time because I used to be like, I'm a creator. And people be like, don't say that. So now,
What? People told you don't say that?
don't say that I'm not a creator.
Yeah.
So
I thought you were saying the opposite. I was like, whoa, what kind of friends?
Nah. My friends.
I'm a creative. Like, nah.
My friends.
No, you're not.
Great circle, rock solid. Appreciate you, my friends. That's one of them over there.
Yeah, I think that includes you.
Yes. Okay, so after high school, did you go to college, or what was the route for you after that?
No, so it was a big grapple for me at the end of my high school career because when I got to maybe by my junior year, I had already known about myself that I was just far too ADD to like even, and I wasn't mature enough really for schoolwork at all. Like I was the type of student that teachers would be the most frustrated by because like, you know, my mom raised me well. I would never act too much of a fool, but I clearly was smart enough to be able to get good grades. I was just like not interested in getting them.
Yeah.
Which is, as I get older, I definitely recognize as an educator that's got to be so frustrating.
Yeah.
So shout out to all the teachers that put up with me. Because I was nice, like a miniature class clown, not the biggest one, but like I just wasn't focused on schoolwork and more importantly, didn't know really what I wanted to do. And, you know, my childhood, like we were never like wanting for anything. My parents, both of them, amazing providers, but I was raised mostly by my mother, and it was just really hard for me to wrap my mind around the idea, knowing how easily distracted I am to like go to a 4-year college. And I'm like, I know this is not cheap. I don't even fully understand. Like she's never put on the impression to me that she had a hard time getting in income or anything like that. But it was just like reading my surroundings. It just felt weird. It felt like I was going to waste my mom's money. And it really was a put off to me.
Yeah.
So after a lot of conversations, my mom actually gave me a really, really good piece of perspective. She told me that, you know, she went to school for about 2.5 years and switched majors twice before she'd landed on healthcare, which is where she stuck. And she said in her generation, that was more of the norm. The idea that as a young person, you go to a university to find yourself and then figure out what you want to do afterwards. But in our generation, it was more the precedent that you should know what you want to do when you leave high school. And now you're going to college to refine that, which is a really challenging question for like, you know, you're 16 through 18, depending on what your situation is. And now you're being asked like, basically, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? Okay, now fork up all this money to go refine that thing. And that pressure was crushing me. And she gave me that perspective and that kind of opened up my mind. And she just laid down a simple ground rule. She was like, listen, as long as you're under my roof, you're going to have a job. Outside of that, there's nothing wrong with taking some time after high school, figure out what you want to do. And I took a gap year. I think it was maybe about 18-month gap or so before I ended up going to a trade school, actually. Okay. So I didn't go to a university. I ended up going to a trade school that was, it was digital imaging specific. So my program focused on studio photography. But they had other things, like they had 3D art. Actually, now that I think about it, they have an audio engineering class as well. So they had a few different trades, but that's what I ended up doing. It ended up being like a way more manageable fit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Man, I'm jealous. I wish I could have took a gap year.
I didn't realize how fortunate I was. I mean, I felt fortunate just because, you know, I felt like I was backed by my mom, but I didn't realize just how unique of a response from a parent that was.
So insightful of her to think about things in that way. And I honestly, I feel like we're now coming to the space where people are now like, let's pause because school is so expensive. But you're like, let's be really sure this is right for you before we make this commitment because it's ridiculous.
Expensive. It's expensive.
It's ridiculous.
6-figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that push was honestly marketing. Like, it had to be marketing from the school to be like, you need to know what you want to do. I had no, let me just tell you how I wanted to do so many different things. I was like, okay, I'm going to do business. Oh, I'm going to do arts. Oh, I'm going to do journalism. And so my final major ended up being interdisciplinary studies because I was able to create my own major. So
That's fly.
mine was Latin American studies combined with like visual media. Like, it was like digital media. That was like my main major.
Yeah.
And then and then journalism was my co-major. So I just made some shit up. I made some shit up. It was so much fun. I had fun.
I don't know. That sounds like career work to me. Most people out here just making it up. Find your lane.
Yeah.
If you're going to see your lane, make it. So shout out to that. That's actually really fresh.
Yeah, no, mine was very, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was like, I got a very little time. My parents wanted me a doctor. I said, listen, I'm going to run with that until I could figure out what the next play is. And just a bunch of pivots happened to that, and now I'm here on a podcast with you guys.
Hey, let's go.
Ended up doing pretty well. I say so myself.
There's merit to that, too. My mom actually never really... I was glad that she was very upfront with me about her fears, actually, behind the advice that she gave me. My dad was... what you probably would expect of most men, especially black men. He
Especially
didn't really
a military man.
Oh, my dad wasn't a military man, but raised by one. Though.
Okay,
he was raised by a military man, so that's so it definitely gets inherited in some ways.
For sure.
Yeah.
People like that tend not to really be very forthcoming with why they feel a certain way, but they'll be very upfront about the conclusion of how they feel.
Yeah.
So he was very much against this type of idea, and never really told me why until I became an adult. But my mom was upfront with me from really early on, and she was just like, you have to understand that, like, as a black man, you're going to get counted out for so many things. And her fear was that if I don't have a degree, that will be another reason for in my job search, because at that time I didn't know I was going to end up in photography full time. It was, path was still unlaid. And she was like, if you don't have a degree, that will just be another reason for someone to not consider you.
Right.
And you don't need any more reasons to not be considered. So she gave me that advice with a grain of salt, saying, like, this is what you're up against. So you might have to work twice or 3 times as hard, because on paper, you will be counted out beyond what you're already going to be counted out for.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Shout out to mom.
Mom had bars. All right, mom still got bars. Mom still got bars.
That is
still got bars.
And it's like, it's just dope that she could just be real with you like that and let you decide, like, I'm gonna let you do what you do, but this is what it is. So just know I told you, like, and that's fire.
And I later learned my dad had the same perspective, but he just didn't share that with me.
Gotcha.
Maybe I don't know if he didn't have the vocabulary, or if or if it was just men being men sometimes.
Yeah. No, that's dope. Okay, so we're at this trade school. So, I guess what is a trade school like? Because I've never been to a trade school. Like, what is it? Just like regular classes? Are you guys doing internships? Like, or what's going on?
They can vary, because the dangerous part about them is that they're rarely accredited. They're typically private. So somebody owns it and is running it. That means it can be run phenomenally. That means it also can be run quite terribly. So you have to be very, very, you have to scrutinize them a lot, because it's a private business.
Right.
It's not like going to a university that, even though it's expensive, like, there's some checks and balances there to protect students. But basically what it is it focuses typically on any given craft or trade. You can find them if you want to be a mechanic. It tends to be more popular for mechanics, just because it puts practical knowledge on the forefront. So you're doing very little studying. You're doing more like apprenticeship and doing. So for my specific class load, I didn't have any like professors. None of them were educators. They were working professionals that through whatever the deal was with the school, they were giving their time to educate people. And because it's just a business that's teaching a skill, and in my case, digital photography, the people who apply to it it's wide ranging. I was by far the youngest person, being a recent high school grad, going there, because most people, one guy I remember, he ran a dog kennel for like like 25 years. Very successful one. I think he sold like poodles, so he was making money. Like
Making big.
Yeah, big money. I went to his house
crazy.
once. I went to his house once because he held like a class party or whatever. Yeah, no, he did not need photography. He just wanted to learn it. He just wanted to learn a skill. Like, I guess he'd been interested in it some time. So he was that type of person where it's like, I'm going to put some money down, go take some classes, learn how to be a photographer.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Disposable income.
I can run a dog kennel.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, I know he was doing it. Another lady who was like in the FBI, and it was actually really complicated because we weren't allowed to take photos of her, but she... Again, she was recently retired. She was like on, I think they have pensions maybe. So I think she was on a pension. So she was set. Like, she wasn't worried about it. She was, I think, like 57 or something like that. And again, wanted to learn. It's very, it was actually kind of ironic. Like, just the fact that you take a photo program. And it's like a bunch of students. So obviously we're only taking photos of each other.
Yeah.
So we're the only ones. Like, ain't nobody got models laying around. So like, nobody's got budgets. We're taking photos of each other. But she could take photos of you, but you cannot take photos. It's actually really, really funny. So it ends up being very specific, and my class load came in something called modules. So basically, it was for typically 3 to 4 weeks per module. It would vary depending on the topic, but like one focused on digital printing. So it focused on specifically the skill of making a print through Photoshop, because this was a digital imaging class. So everything was cornerstone around the digital aspect of it, because there's so many ways to print make. So this was teaching you specifically, okay, this is how you work in Photoshop to fine-tune your print. And this is how you do test prints. This is a method that you take notes so that when you run an edition of prints, you can do it in the way that you think respects your art or is accurate to your art. Another one was studio lighting. So that one was exactly how it sounds. You get into the studio and you learn all types of different lighting styles. And the only difference from maybe a photo class at a university is they would probably go a little bit more into like painters and things. I would imagine, because like art history classes informs a lot of what photographers do in the aspect of lighting, because that's really the earliest representations of just any lighting at all before photography existed as an art form. But we didn't go down that route. It's just strictly practical. We just like come up with a concept, photograph it. So it was like if you took all the practical parts of what you do in a university, that's really what it's like at a trade school, at most of them. And then if you're lucky, you find your way into like an apprenticeship or something like that afterwards.
Right.
Okay, so did you find your way into like an internship or an apprenticeship or something?
I did. I found when we talked earlier, I forgot about one. I found my way into two. One was your very traditional get taken advantage of package of internship that so many of us have experienced. If you haven't experienced it, then God bless you. But
I always got paid. Okay.
Hey, listen, I got paid, but I didn't realize I was being underpaid.
Oh,
it was that type of thing.
Okay, no, that's all of us.
Yeah.
I thought you were doing the unpaid.
Oh no. No. Thankfully for photography, the unpaid internship is more like assisting photographers.
Okay.
It's still possible, but it's a little bit harder to be taken advantage of because it's typically gig work. Gotcha. So it's like a sprint where you do a lot of work, but then it's over typically in a day. Like you're carrying bags and stuff like that. And sometimes like you'll get like lunch and like gas money, but they're not really, depending on your age and your experience, you're not making much money. But this internship was just, this dude was selling too much, and I won't name his business, but he was selling too much of a package to clients. And then he would have interns basically supplement his overpromise on the artistic side. So that was the first one. And then I found myself into a second one, which is where I actually still now work with Tuckernuck.
So one of your internships out of your trade school was Tuckernuck, where you've been working.
Yeah. I was in the very last module. Yeah, which is bizarre.
So how did they find you, or did you find them? Like, how did you get connected with Tuckernuck?
It was as much of a lightning strike as you can imagine, actually, because I was in the last module of my trade school, and it was a portfolio class. So that was what wrapped up everyone's course load. So basically, you look at whatever work you have outside the class and whatever work you made during the time you were at the school, and you have to come up with a print portfolio. And the educator I had at the time, his name is David Sharp. And he's a portrait photographer, and he'd been doing so maybe for like 30 some years, but way back in the day. His studio manager actually is the mother of someone I now work with. Basically, when the business was starting, I suppose, like, you know, as people do when they're starting a business, they were talking to their parents, and she came to my instructor and was like, hey, my daughter's starting a fashion company. At the time, it was called U-Scoop.
Okay.
And they're looking for an intern to help them, like, with photo editing and taking photos of product.
Right.
Do you know anybody? So he came into the class and walked in, and this is where it's beneficial to be working with a guy who runs, or in a class with a guy who runs a kennel and a lady who's an FBI agent on her pension, because he came in talking about an internship for a local company, and no one was very interested in that, because they don't need an internship. They just wanted to learn a skill and, you know, take great photos of their dogs and stuff like that, which is perfectly valid. I'm not making fun of that, by the way. And so I raised my hand, and from then I got connected via email, and then I went in for an interview, and that was the winter that I turned 18. And then I started my internship, at least when I was 19, because I started a little bit after the new year. I like interviewed towards the end of the year, and then they actually got me in there, just taking photos of like sandals and editing and cataloging photos and stuff like that, like organizing them.
How awesome is it to be part of a company during its like infancy when it's starting? Because I'm just thinking, like, you started working at this company straight out of trade school at the age of 18, and like now, many years later, like, how is that? Like,
I know, it's wild. It's wild, and I turned 30 this year, so like so it's a little weird.
Wow.
It's cool. To answer your question, it's actually really, really cool. And for someone like myself that I'm always trying to educate myself on something, and that's just my muscle memory, mostly because, you know, I was just way too distracted as a student and then didn't go to a university, so I always had to be self-starting in my education. If I didn't go seek it, it wasn't just about to fall in my lap, and no one was asking me to do it, so I had to go do it myself. For something like this situation, it's really amazing, because then I actually get the good fortune of learning as everyone in the company learns. And you get to be a part of it all and see it all. And it involves long hours, that's for sure, but it's super rewarding though. So my college years were spent watching a business really be formed, which was fun. Well, being a part of a business being formed, I should say.
Yeah. It's so unique.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's a little wild. I only fully realize how wild it is like now.
Your teachers, studio managers, mother needed a photo intern. He just thought to come to class, and you just happened to be in a class with people who wasn't looking for internships. Like, so was Tuckernuck in Philly, or were they still?
So I'm from South Philly, but I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay.
I was born in Philly, and when I was really, really young, my parents moved down to Silver Spring.
Okay.
For a lot of reasons, some professional, some because the public school system in Philly has a lot to be desired. I'll put it that way, or at least at the time it did. So, I was raised here, and then I went to high school in Wheaton, Maryland.
Okay.
MoCo has good public schools.
They sure do. Yeah. They sure do.
Now that camera thing is making a lot of sense.
Now it's making sense.
It's making sense.
Yeah, it's making sense.
PG County needs funding.
Yeah, PG County does need funding. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's big facts.
This is good. So what are some of like the most like memorable moments? Because you literally been there since the inception. Like what are some of your most memorable moments in the company? Like
I would say one of them in no chronological order, at least.
Yeah, of course.
One of them was being able to actually design and build out my first photo studio.
Excuse me.
Bless you. That was definitely that was a major moment for me personally.
Design and build out your own like the photo studio for Tuckernuck. That's cool.
Yeah, that was an amazing project. I always obsess over going to photo studios and had been to so many, so it was amazing to try and, you know, for a very specific use case, take what I had seen from assisting people and from visiting studios. I was always trying to shadow studios, renting them out for my own projects, trying to make a place that, like, okay, what would really be conducive for creative energy.
Right.
And being in that process, that was probably the first time that I felt like self-aware while I was doing, because I tend to just like put my head down and do whatever I'm doing that's immediately in front of me, and I'm not really thinking much about it. That was the first time I felt like I had like an out of body experience, and I was like, what is happening right now?
Right.
Like, is this actual life? So that one is very memorable.
What did that look like though? How did you bring that vision to life? What different elements did you include in the studio to make it that creative space?
So that one, our photography style at the time involved having an infinity background.
Okay.
And I was doing some with seamless paper.
Okay.
But it ended up getting really, really wasteful. We used a lot of paper all the time. I was constantly having to change rolls of paper out. And then it was cramped because paper, really, you can't get it in longer than 11 feet and 11 feet wide. And 11 feet wide is even kind of specialty. It's more common to find it in like 9 feet, which
We've struggled with this backdrop. We were like, how
listen, backdrops are a thing.
Yes.
It's a thing. It is a
This
thing.
thing is not easy, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So y'all know.
Someone said get paper, so we looked into it and we're like, none of them are long enough. Like we were just
Yeah. All right. So y'all know. I didn't realize I was going to trigger you like that.
Yeah.
I apologize.
triggering.
I apologize. But yeah, no, that was a constant battle for me. Just having to do the setups, and then you don't have enough width. So if we have more than one model, or sometimes we photograph people's kids because we had sold tots as well, like tots clothing, and then you're wrangling a kid, but you have to keep them on this very thin backdrop, and it's really, really hard. So I found a company out of California. I think they're out of LA, and they're called Psych Wall. And basically a cyclorama is where you see studios. They build basically like a quarter pipe you'd see in a skate park. It looks like a ramp, but it's all white.
Yeah.
Figured it would be far more efficient for us to just build that in and then repaint it, as opposed to having to constantly change paper all the time. And then you can have a width that actually goes full width to the room. And that studio, the room was about 17 feet wide. So they build their pieces out of fiberglass, and then they ship them and then install them. So they built these fiberglass curves and was able to put a curve on the floor and on the ceiling, and got to paint it white. So that was a big part of like the photo aspect of it. And then the other aspect of it was organizing all the samples that we had to photograph. So trying to be considerate of how much you need to store, what samples need to be nearby because they need to be photographed, what samples need to be nearby because the stylist needs to have something to actually put the outfit together. Yeah. Because if you're selling like this beautiful kith sweater that you have right here, you have to complete the outfit with the rings and all this other stuff, or some jewelry or something. You have to make people want to buy it. And just putting a sweater on a person and then photographing it is not enough to like compel somebody to make an emotional purchase, like, oh my God, I love that, or see themselves in it. So having accessible storage, as well as like more, not long-term, but short-term storage in terms of hanging clothes and stuff. So it was a lot of considerations. So basically did it all virtually. I didn't know anything about 3D modeling at the time, so I just did it all in Photoshop because that was the program I was the most comfortable with. And basically drew it out, got the measurements from our floor plan from the architect, and then drew out and proposed to the company where everything would go. And once they gave me the green light, then I started ordering the pieces and getting them shipped. Yada, yada, yada.
That is crazy.
It was a thrill ride. It was very fun. It was very fun.
That's fire.
And I get kind of like obsessive compulsive. So this like scratch to every OCD itch. You're just like down to get everything just right.
I love that. So cool.
That's a blessing.
So what were the other, you had other moments too, because before I interrupted you.
Yeah, I feel like I at least have one more. Yeah, I think actually something that was really, really memorable for me was being able to start actually becoming and this was no specific time, but it kind of developed, the feeling developed over time, realizing that I was able to actually employ and work with and make sure that like dope creatives got work and got paid. From doing gig work for so long, and then kind of having a drought with gig work, and I even count the internship at my current job as the kind of gig work, because internships aren't certain. You get a lot of knowledge and you get some money from them, but it's not the same as having a full-time job. So it feels like temporary is what I mean to say. So once I started realizing that I had this ability to like tap into my own network and the people that I know around me that are really talented and really driven, be able to actually provide some type of opportunity. That feeling started to develop over time, and that's I would say it probably was, I could put it on a year, not a moment, but a year where I started feeling this way. And that was probably like 2017 or 2018 was when I was, that really, like that year brought it into the forefront of my consciousness. That I was like, wow, you actually can, you know, help be a positive player in the creative space in DC, which is already very, very, very small.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd probably be the other one.
So that kind of brings me into something that I actually wanted to talk about. That whole creating a safe space for like workers, employees, creatives, like the people doing gigs and stuff like that, because a lot of times in, you know, fashion, entertainment, like creators are one of the first people to get taken disadvantage of as far as like payment and stuff like that. And then like even recently in the news, the whole like Lululemon situation where the black employees didn't feel comfortable, like, and stuff like that. So that is like, and I know that's one of your things, is like, you told me like being big on creating safe spaces for creatives. So talk about how you do that. Talk about, you know, why that's such a passion for you. And you can even speak on maybe if you had like instances where you didn't feel that safeness, because I'm assuming that's probably was the catalyst for you feeling like taking on that as like that's my thing. Like
well, it kind of, at the root of it, it's definitely who I am. I feel like, you know, like love languages, acts of service is 100% my love language, like and that's consistent across every aspect of my life. So that ended up getting intertwined with some of my the feeling that I had after some of my worst experiences in gig work as a creative, that range from, you know, all the way from something as benign as like just not being paid attention to, which isn't like as bad as some abuse can go, but it can end up over time really compiling into something that feels pretty terrible, and at least at the very least doesn't actually bring out a creative's best work, is when they feel like just they're not paid attention to. Like you might as well not be here. If a creative feels that way, if any human being feels that way, their output is just gonna plummet.
Right.
So it ranges from that end of things to all the way to just like flat out like people disrespecting your time, promising to pay and then not paying, and then you have to hunt them down to pay. I'm sure everybody out there has had some type of experience like that, and they got every reason under the sun, and they're trying to clearly bring the worst out of you, it seems. So when you try to actually be respectful of people and then get treated like that professionally as a creative, it ends up festering. And I just never, once I got into this space that I felt like I could impact things in terms of like, you know, at least make sure creatives have a good experience, then I took every single opportunity that I possibly could to make sure that, you know, people would have no chance of repeating, or have as little chance as possible of repeating some of the experiences that I've had. Gotcha. And that I've heard from friends of mine. Because some people that I call good friends and colleagues have had far worse creative experiences that I've personally endured. But then, you know, you show up for people that you love and you see what they go through when they go through those things. So when people come in the doors at Tuckernuck, I want people to, at the very least, feel like you're seen, feel like you're respected, and everything after that, you know, you can just hope for the best. But like at a core human level, like you need to be okay. I never want people to feel like I'm not even checking on you and I'm not worried about how you're doing. Because if you're not doing well, how can I expect you to be creative at all? How can I expect you to be any type of productive if you're, as a human being, if you're in a terrible space? So then naturally it became second nature, where like I have to ask about how you're doing, because if you're not doing well, then I know everything else. Some people push through, but like it's no way it's going to be as good as when you're actually like you're in your best mental space.
I think that work is so important on this coast specifically, and the DMV area specifically. when we went to LA, I was just struck by how much infrastructure exists there to support creative people.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they got their own issues. We know what's going on with the
for
writer's
sure.
strike.
Yeah, for sure.
We know
They got
SAG, all of that.
Yeah.
But you
the
know,
infrastructure nonetheless.
yeah, I went to an event and it literally was an agency for photographers. I didn't even know that existed. I was like, what? And you know, I've worked with tons of photographers. I work in the agency world. I worked at a advertising agent, PR agency before, and now I'm at another agency, and so we work with creatives. And you know, I always think about them, and I'm like, like it's, imagine you're this small creative and you have to advocate for things like getting paid on time, advocate for, you know, fair contracts, advocate for your licensing, all these different things. And like, we have a whole legal team that's like writing the contracts, you know? And it's just, sometimes it's just them.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a whole lot.
Like,
it's a whole lot to start and then even more to maintain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because net 15 will turn to net 45 in a
Yeah,
second.
turn to net never.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. So yeah, it's just, I mean, like, all I know is that can't be me.
Yeah.
You know, I can't control every single experience that happens. But I mean, you can employ the fundamentals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's good. And I'm glad that you do that, continue to do that. And I just hope that more and more people are doing that as well too. We got to take care of our creatives. We need them. Art is definitely needed. Art is like,
absolutely.
Art is like the foundation of a lot. So it's like, we need to take care of those people. So yeah, for sure. So now we're going to get into our other segment. We call this, I don't know if we don't have a formal name, but it's like, would you rather? So I'm going to give you a couple questions, and
boy, this can always go left. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Oh no, I think it's pretty chill.
This will be fun. I think it'll be fun.
All right. Okay, I can relax.
Okay. So would you rather shoot a Nokia or a Doot Akesh?
A Doot Akesh.
This
is fun. Okay, thank you. This is fun. I was like, all right, wait a second.
Would you rather have a late model or a late photographer?
I would rather have a late photographer.
Really? I didn't expect that.
Sorry.
Wait,
I have to know. I have to know why.
Break this down.
I have to know
I'm
why.
actually
This is
shocked.
such a loaded question. This is such a loaded question. Okay, yeah, I'll break it down. So the way I'm thinking about it is like, if this were a project of mine that, let's say I'm producing it, I'm not shooting it, but like I'm just putting the pieces together. To me, I know that the person who's behind the camera, we can rush, they can look however, but a model is on, depending on your shoot, but like what I'm used to is the models are on such a schedule going between hair, makeup. The stylist has to make sure that everything that they had in mind for this person actually works. Because sometimes you have an idea, you think it's going to look good, and then you put it together and you're like, no, wait a second, we got to change some stuff. So there's so many other creatives that cannot start until the model shows up. Whereas like if the photographer's, I can work around, and maybe I'm biased because I am a photographer, so I know like, I can like
in a pinch.
I can I know I'm not truly like asked out, but I can like get things set up, and if a photographer's late, we can like rush and start and get to it. But if a model's late, then it's like I can't have this person in the front of the camera looking like they're rushed. Everybody needs, so that's where I ended up going. But that's question though. That's
why they pay you the big bucks. That's why you're director of digital assets. Because I was thinking late model, but you just, the way you broke it down, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you got 45 minutes in the chair, and then
you got to rejigger the schedule around.
But photographer was like, no coffee for you. Let's get to it. You're late. We can start up, and you can look tired and sweaty, and we won't know.
Yeah. I was just thinking about the setting up of the lighting and like all of that stuff.
That's why I'm biased on that end, because I know I could do some setup to compensate. If I wasn't a photographer by trade, I might feel different. But I knew if someone told me like, I'm running an hour late or 30 minutes late, I'm like, all right, I would start setting stuff up and getting them in the right place so that they have as little to do as possible when they show up.
Okay. Would you rather work with Jamal Shabazz or Gordon Parks?
Oh. What a painful. Gordon Parks.
Gordon Parks. Would you rather no coffee or no music on set?
No coffee.
No coffee.
Yeah, if there's no music, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Gotta
I'm
get
going
the vibe
home.
right.
Yeah, the right music will supplement where coffee wasn't there, you know?
That's true.
But coffee ain't going to get me through an 8-hour vacuum of I'm just listening to all right, next shot.
Yeah, that would be
someone's going to have to start pulling a beatboxing or something. Like someone's going to start banging on tables.
Yes.
Because we're not doing silence for an 8-hour day. It ain't happening. Better start singing. Hope we got the choir.
Good. Early morning shoot or late night shoot?
That one's so hard because it's like creative direction inspired. If it's my shoot, I'm going late night.
Late night.
I'm going late night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have Jerry Lorenzo or Samuel Ross creative direct?
I gotta go with Ross.
Gotta go with Ross.
I gotta go with Ross.
Okay.
These are hard. These are hard questions. I thought this was gonna be chill. It started off chill. I feel like I might start sweating.
Would you rather have a checked out employee or have to use Adobe Lightroom?
I'm gonna need you to explain this one to me.
That was definitely fueled by
on
a conversation
call,
on the phone.
I asked him what are his 2 pet peeves, and he said his 2 pet peeves are a checked out employee on set and having to use Adobe Lightroom.
Why do you hate Adobe Lightroom?
I don't. Let me explain. All right. Let me explain. And I was joking. I was like, I'm gonna ruin any chance of getting sponsored by Adobe with this one. I only dislike Lightroom for shooting on set tethered. Like when you need to get photos from your camera to your computer through a USB cable. That's when I do not like Lightroom.
Okay.
For the record, I love Lightroom for cataloging, organizing my photos. I edit in Lightroom. I do maybe 90% of my work through Lightroom. But if you had to give it to me on set and that's where I needed to use it, I might cry. I might be like, you know what, we're going to have to look on the back of the camera because this is about to be a problem. So it's a very specific use case that I have an issue with.
I was like, I thought that was like the holy
set me
grail
up.
for photography.
It's amazing.
You know? Be like, I really like when I have spent time using it. I was like, okay,
It's a beautiful
this is
program.
better than Photoshop. I didn't.
Way better than Photoshop.
But I didn't learn it till like super late. And actually, I've not been using it recently because we don't do a lot of photography stuff for our
we
editing
don't.
stuff.
If we shooting pictures, grab an iPhone, get it out the way. Like,
Yep. Yeah, I dig that. Yeah, no, very specific use case. I'm taking Lightroom all day though. Yeah, I need to have people on set checked in for sure. Like you gotta be there mentally.
Yeah.
And I'll deal with a buggy and crashing software as long as there's music.
Gotcha. Right, that's it. Wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad.
Crashing
was
software.
Crashing software.
I'm done.
That's hilarious. All right, so I know one thing we talked about, and I know Anima wanted to hear more about this too. You said that you felt like a lot of people didn't really have a full scope of like the creative opportunities in fashion. So I would love for you to talk about that and talk about what's available and stuff like that as well too.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I feel like I learn about it maybe every single day. But I didn't realize, until having this experience of like growing a studio and working with so many people laterally to make just an image happen, that when I first got into fashion, my perception on fashion photography was that it's typically, and sometimes it's like this, but it's more commonly like a photographer that has a vision and now they're bringing all these things together to make it happen. But if you're not either the model or the photographer, or maybe the stylist, then there's not really any room for you, was my initial impression. But then I realized that like when a company is doing a production at scale, we'll take Kith, for example. Their campaigns, which is like, I wish I owned a Kith piece, but I actually just admire them just because of what they create. I love their campaigns. They did the shoot with Jerry Seinfeld. That was so dope. But the production coming together is so much more than the photographer.
Yeah.
And that's coming from me as a photographer. There's so many people that are necessary to make that happen and so many different personality types. You need people that are highly regimented and amazing with follow-up, that can represent as a producer, but that also comes in so many different senses, in the sense that you might need someone on set
Right.
that is explicitly not responsible for the creative, but to make sure that the set is operating well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see that commonly as like a production assistant is where you'll typically see that language floating around, but it comes in a lot of different forms. But the people that I meet that do that well, they might admire photography, but they never wanted to do it and don't aspire to. They may admire certain models, but don't aspire to model. You know, these aren't people that are like waiting for their foot in the door. Some of them are. That's a great way to get into production, just by helping out on set if you're looking to do a different job on set. But there are a lot of people that just love making a production happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's really not too, especially when you get to the larger productions, it's no different than how you might picture like Broadway theater. I mean, if you want to be an actor in the spotlight, great, please go strive for that. But there are hundreds of people that make that production happen.
Or
And
even a
they're
movie,
vital.
too.
Movies,
Yeah.
fantastic. Which is why when you asked, would I rather work alongside Jamal Shabazz or Gordon Parks, it'd be Gordon Parks, because towards the end of his career, he got into filmmaking.
Did not know that.
And I mean, there's a lot I still don't know about him. Every time I buy a book about him, it's just a whole different chapter opens up.
Back to my art history day.
But yeah, I just learn about it all the time, that there's so many different ways to get in. I mean, hell, if you don't want the spotlight, when you get to the right level, people need assistance to make it happen. You might never want to be the top person in that lane, whether it be styling or whether it be like producing. People need assistance. And if you like just enjoy being a team player and being a part of what's going on, you can find your way in there as long as you are motivated and you show up every day and you're smart and honestly, the most important thing, you actually are fun to be around for 8 hours. That's going to get you hired more than anything else.
That's definitely needed.
If someone's okay kicking it with you for 14, 15 hours on multiple days,
Yeah.
they're going to hire you. Even
Yep.
if like you're mediocre, people are going to be
Yeah.
like, I'd rather have a mediocre person that I'd want to spend 8 hours with rather than a super talented person that I'm find insufferable.
Yeah, because sets are really about like the chemistry. Like,
Absolutely.
it's just that's an important part of
Absolutely.
it, for sure.
Yeah. So it's been fun seeing the different ways that you can hop in. And I've seen so many of my friends count themselves out because they're like, I mean, I'm not a photographer. I can't be in fashion photography. And I'm like, you really can. If you're a little bit humble, then you'd be all right.
Yeah.
You might have to be carrying something to make your way in. But trust me, the person who's carrying things is vital.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's why it's important for the folks who listen to this podcast to hear that, because I think that people who have been striving to get into the fashion industry or just kind of see it like, all right, I can be a fashion designer or I can be a stylist. Like it's like, or I guess a model, but like there's so much more to it.
So much more.
Even so, like this one aspect of fashion, which is like fashion photography, there are so many different roles you can have when it comes to designing. There's so many different roles there. So I think people need to hear about the diversity of it to really understand where they can see themselves, honestly.
Yeah.
Helps to hear that.
Which, if anyone out there needs to hear this, just ask if you can help out. You'd be surprised how many people, and you might have to do it for free for a few times.
Yeah.
But if you really want to be on set and you really want to do that, you'd be surprised if you just have a good head on your shoulders and you just express to somebody that you just want to help. They'll have you around, and maybe you don't end up working for that person, but you're going to brush shoulders with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And if you just keep your head on the swivel and just clearly be motivated, that's a great way to get into anything.
Yeah.
Just being like, hey, I just want to help. Just want to help.
That's good. That's good. So see, there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
You just got to speak up and be willing to help and let it go from there. So.
And you got to balance it out with, you got to watch out for the people like, oh, do this for exposure, yada, yada. You got to watch out for those. It's a minefield. I'm not going to act like it's a silver bullet. It's treacherous to just offer yourself for free.
That's true.
Yeah.
But you got to meet people.
Right. I think one thing we haven't heard you talk about, like you've talked around it, but not necessarily talked specifically about it, is like what your role is now with Tuckernuck, and like, so how you know that there are all these different roles. Like there's a specific, this because of the role that you're in now, and like what that role is constituted of. So if you can share with the people kind of like what your job is.
Yeah. And you've definitely caught me. I'm amazing at talking around myself before I talk like actually about myself. So I feel very seen. I didn't come here for a reading. But yeah, so what I do, started off in the early days of taking all of the imagery that Tuckernuck used to sell our clothing. However, it's evolved into really maintaining the photo operations. So I collaborate with a lot of different people at my job, but my specific domain involves making sure that we're adhering to the budget that our producers set. So that means if we need equipment, things like cameras, scrutinizing what cameras are we getting? How many are we getting? Is this something that we can keep for a long enough time where the company will find this as a good investment? We're not just wasting, because photography equipment, videography equipment, it's really easy to waste your money. If you're just not paying attention. So doing that, but then also reaching out to creatives, finding talent, helping to just really spread awareness to make sure that creatives know that we exist. And we hire people on a weekly basis to do a whole bunch of different jobs and just making sure that people know that that's a thing. But then it also comes to the technology of it, which is why I've been so deep in a like nerdy software rabbit hole to have one of my biggest pet peeves be Lightroom.
Right.
We shoot in a very high-paced studio environment, and when you do that, if you end up using a software that crashes repeatedly on set, if you waste 45 minutes to an hour over multiple occasions restarting a software, that money adds up. So I do have to end up scrutinizing technology in that sense, but any technology that handles our media, I'm responsible for making sure the contracts with those companies are okay. How long we're going to be there, making sure that my teammates understand what the workflow is inside of those places. So essentially creative directors or stylists can all find imagery. I'm responsible for making sure that our imagery is findable and cataloged and safe. And to anyone who shoots anything, following the golden rule of 3 backups. Y'all know the 3 backup rule?
No,
we clearly do not.
I don't want to make anybody feel bad. This is a standard that I've only personally recently made it to, but for my job, put it on the forefront of my mind because it is cost prohibitive. But the 3 backup rule is you have your local backup. So that's just whatever hard drive you're not using, whatever you shot, whatever media you created, it's just a separate backup. You keep it tucked away somewhere. Then you have your offsite backup. That is the way they put it is you have your backup in your house, and then in case your house burns down, you have a backup somewhere else. So that can be your mom's house. Some people use a safety deposit box at a bank. They'll update their backup and then just go drop it there. So in case something happens to their personal belongings, they have a backup elsewhere. And then the third one is in the cloud. So you back up in your house. If your house burns down, you back up offsite. If offsite gets robbed, then you back up in the cloud where you can ultimately retrieve it from. And that's what you should be striving for, is those 3. But for myself, like I said, it's cost prohibitive. So it took me a while to actually be able to do that for my personal work. But for my job, I can make no mistake about it. If we're investing in photography, then it has to be followed at every moment because we can't sell clothes as an e-commerce business without media to represent those clothes. So I equate those as a 1-to-1.
We're going to have to do like a consultation with you.
Let's do it. I'm very passionate about this. I'm very passionate about this topic.
Storage space has been spanking us.
Storage space, version control, all the things that we're just like, well, we didn't know about this. This camera's not running? Oh my gosh.
It's a bumpy road. I would love to. Y'all have anything I know is not original knowledge, so I'm happy to share it. But yeah, so basically I'm responsible for the media that we create and then the creatives that are responsible for creating that media. There's a lot of times using the word create, but so it's the people aspect, which is where I get my passions about making sure that creatives are good. Because I don't need to be the one who takes the photos, but if people show up and they're taking photos, I need to make sure that they're okay. Because if they're not okay, then we won't have good photos. So they need to be okay.
Makes sense.
Sometimes it's as simple as the right chair in the studio. Sometimes it's as simple as like having conversation with people.
No, that's good.
That was a good synopsis of what you do.
Okay. All right,
I
cool.
like that. I
Yeah.
like that. And also I think that people need to know like what Tuckernuck is.
Oh yeah, sure.
As well.
So we're a lifestyle brand, started in DC by 3 women. And honestly, the way that we're growing ourselves now, we have more and more of our own original designs. We started off as an aggregator, so we sold other people's brands. A big brand pillar for us is discovery. So there's just no more amazing feeling than going somewhere like to LA and finding a piece.
Yeah.
And you just feel like it just backs the emotion of that purchase. Like not only do you like it, but it was just fun to discover it.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're very passionate about. So we still do a lot of that, but now we sell our own clothing, which is something that we've gotten into in the last 5 or so years, and it's been growing since of our own private label.
Cool.
But yeah, heavy on the women's. Sorry, gentlemen, we do have a little bit of gentlemen's wear. It's getting a little bit bigger, but the ladies, y'all got it down pat at Tuckernuck. Trust me.
They do the buying.
Yes, exactly. Now make no mistake, we have price points that range. We have entry level price points, things that like very approachable, I'll say. But we also are very, very big on having pieces that will actually last, pieces that are classics. And some of my favorite assortment that we have is our outerwear. And now you might be dropping $700 on a jacket, but believe me, if you don't deliberately destroy it, you'll have that jacket for the rest of your life. It's that type of thing. Buy one good piece once and then keep it.
Yeah.
Or pass it down.
Yeah, big proponent of that and trying to avoid fast fashion.
Yeah. Now listen, my socks are Uniqlo, so you got to balance it out.
Yeah.
I got some cheap socks. Got some cheap socks on right now. I got to cut costs somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if I'm going to buy an expensive jacket, then that means something's got to.
Right.
Yeah, something's got to give.
Something's got to give, and I guess I can't have nice socks then.
So I was told that you like to travel.
I love travel.
And this one over here, this is the queen of travel.
Okay. Why are you telling the people my business?
Like scheduling.
It can't just be me.
Scheduling filming with Andima is like, Andima, when are you going to Mexico again? When are you going to Brazil? Just want to make sure that the podcast is not interrupting your travel schedule, of course.
I mean, God forbid.
So embarrassing.
So what have been some of your, as far as like style, places that you've been there, like, yo, this has great style. Like these cities, they dress the best.
Oh yeah. Well, Japan
I was
up
gonna-
there. It's
I was
obviously.
going to guess that one.
Yeah, Japan's up there clearly.
Japan definitely got some sauce.
Yes.
Yes, for sure.
Oh my gosh, what's that brand? Someone told me about. Is there a brand called Capital? Wait, no.
but
Okay,
put
sorry.
me on.
No,
Okay.
I will
later.
look it up,
Yeah,
and then
please.
we'll have
Please.
a
We'll have to
conversation
circle back
about
to
it.
that.
Yes.
But yeah, no, Japan in terms of style for sure. I think they just appreciate the way something fits. And they just seem to not be very wasteful. And I don't mean like, no fast fashion, like that type of thing. That's not what I mean. I mean, not wasteful in the sense that like, if you're going to put it on your person, then it needs to accentuate something. It needs to be adding in some way.
Every piece has
it's
its
not
own.
just like useless style pieces. Like this is something that's adding in some way or another. And I like that mentality. Another place that was very influential for me, honestly, was Spain. But it was more because of the mentality, not because of the fashion. Now, they are fly, but the mentality is so laid back. I appreciated the way that they approached their fashion.
Okay.
I mean, and now obviously the climate that they live in gets to cater to this. I mean, if I lived in Spain, then you better believe I'm not really thinking twice about anything that isn't linen. I mean, I'm wearing linen all day. Sure. So they get a pass, kind of like in people in California. Like you have the luxury of like, it's always 70 or 80. So like pretty easy to be relaxed about what you wear. But they're just kind of, they have a good balance of life, I think, in general. So their fashion just seems like very easygoing, very flowy. That was one of the first places I saw like loose fitting fabrics together with tailored pieces. And I like that type of thing.
Okay. Spain. That one I would not have guessed.
Really? Yeah, I don't really reflect it very much. But in the sense that I try and they maybe showed me what it looks like to like have some style, but like if it's not honest to you, then you don't have to try hard.
Right.
Some people really do love waking up and obsessing over their outfit, and God bless those people.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not one of them. Yeah. Shout out to you, man. Yeah, no, I'm very lazy with the way that I dress.
Yeah,
But
I'm
like
in
you can
there.
be lazy and not like be a slob though. Like you
Yeah.
can still have a sense of
Facts,
style and
yeah.
you don't have to be like all about it if that's not honest to you.
Yeah, mine's like obsessing in the moment. It's like 10 minutes before.
I have to build in time. Like sometimes I'm getting ready and I'm like, all right, I gotta build in an extra 20, 25 minutes because I'm gonna sit in my closet. Like I'm sorry. Like if
You're
I'm
smart, man.
I'm a be
Exactly.
I will
That's
be
the difference
late.
between me and Chuck.
I will be late to an event if the outfit's not right because I need that when I come in. Like I need the
Yeah.
outfit, and then when I leave my
Same.
room, there's clothes everywhere. Like
Same.
I even started a
studio.
method where it's like everything I try that I don't want, I just hang on this one door. So I know when I come back, I'm like, all right, I just need to clear my door. Before it was just like, all right, shoe here, shirts on the floor.
Oh,
and I'm
scattered.
like, now I'm like, at least it's on one door. So I know when I come home, just hang everything back
method.
up on that one
I
door.
found
But, like,
another person I need to do like a consultation with because the way it's a drama when I'm trying to find an outfit. It's
Right.
it's
What type
ridiculous.
of drama?
It's the clothes are everywhere.
Clothes everywhere. It's an
The
explosion.
clothes are
huh?
everywhere, and I'm just like I don't have a lot of space, so like I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have the things organized how I would want them to be organized to be able to find the stuff. So there's a lot of stuff where I'll be like digging stuff. I'm like, oh shit, I got that. That was a cute buy, and I've never worn it because it literally was buried under something.
Yeah.
man,
So I need to
remember
get
what-
better.
Remember what Dejanay say? If you can't see it, you're not gonna wear it.
Amazing motto. I just started hanging up all of my
Yeah,
clothes.
she
because of that.
suggested that. She was
I
like,
had drawers
hang
and
up
I was
everything,
like, there
make
was
everything
pants I
visible.
forgot I owned. They were underneath.
Yeah, and that kind of makes me now want to look into like clear space like drawers. Like I want some of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you Capital.
Oh, yeah.
I should showed you on Instagram or something.
That's okay.
But, like,
I've seen
seen their
this
stuff?
style, but have I seen this?
It's like,
I've
like
never
hand
seen
dyed,
this.
kind of like small batch.
Hand-dyed?
Let me see if I
You got
can.
to DM me that. Dang, I just did Christmas shopping. I'm broken and I got this tire on my car, man. Showing me clothing at a time like this.
I'm sorry. Somebody in LA put me on, and I was like, oh okay.
That looks nice. That looks cozy.
Like, yeah, I'll definitely DM you.
I don't have
like,
enough
just,
fleece stuff.
like-
I need some more fleece in my life.
I'm just
Sherpa,
also such
as
a
we call
fan
it.
of like I don't know, stuff that's like no one else, not many people are gonna have it. Like you're just making so few that like you're just
Yeah.
not gonna have it. So
That's fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to send me that.
Yeah.
Please.
out of Japan.
They're different.
All right. Well, to transition to our favorite question we love to ask our guests. What is your favorite Black fashion moment?
So I thought about this for a long time. And then when it came to me, I was shocked it took me so long. And honestly, my sideburns sort of embody it. It's all the way Black fashion in the 70s. I don't know if I could peg it to, I like oddly enough grappled with the word moment, but like I would say the moment is like 70 to 75.
Okay.
I just loved, especially what men were doing. I think we're making our way back there, I feel, but I feel like for sure, Black men and women, beautiful at that era.
Yeah.
But men were just so much more open to different silhouettes,
Yes.
different types of like material, understanding how you could take a simple piece, and if that simple piece is like silk, you'll end up just like, it'll set off an outfit differently. So like the way men like accentuated their own body types with fashion was just different in the 70s. And it's kind of warm this winter, but typically I have an afro with these sideburns this time of year because it's cold outside, so I'll grow my hair out. But global warming told me to just keep it short, I guess. But yeah, just Black fashion in the 70s, it has my whole heart. It has my whole heart.
It's a fun era.
Oh my God. So much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Lots of silk. Lots of silk. One of our previous, it's not the same exact silhouette, but it's similar to what you're saying. One of our previous guests just launched a line called State of Condition. And his whole approach to the line is thinking about silhouettes in the same way that are flattering to, in a different way than, the skinny jeans.
Yeah.
That era, I'm so glad it's
eye roll
gone.
is
There's
heavy.
so many pants that I'm just like, oh, thank goodness. I don't have to ever wear this pants again. Like, I'm so glad that like we're no longer wearing skinny jeans. Cause no,
I was always shocked. and I had a lot of friends that wore them, obviously, because I used to skateboard. So there was
Yeah.
a whole heavy group
Yeah.
of my friends wore skinny jeans.
Skinnies with the Vans.
Yeah.
Yep.
But back to the functional thing, I always felt constricted. I could never do it. I didn't even particularly mind how they look. But I was like, I'm not going to be like constricted in what I wear. I need to be.
If I can see your calf muscles, that's crazy. That's all I'm saying. Like, that's what it was hard for me because I have big calves. So it's like, even with the skinny, you had to make sure that something that was slim, like you couldn't see the shape of my calf because that's wild. That's wild. Like, you shouldn't see me walking and my calf muscles are flexing. Like, if you are one of those people, I need you to stop immediately. Like, go ahead, toss those in the trash, get you a nice straight leg cut. And
Maybe a taper. Maybe
maybe a tape something, but like I don't want to see your calf muscles. That's egregious. Like, come on. Sorry.
You set your job with the calf.
Get your bars off. It's all good.
I had to get that one off. y'all be looking wild. Like, come on. Like, you in the gym, you muscular. I don't want to see your calf muscles. Okay.
It do be the muscular people that look,
Yes.
you know. Which is always so funny because I feel like when you got big muscles, you don't have to try for things to fit tight. But some people seem to actually try to want things to fit tight and be muscular. It's a choice. It's a choice.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
An uncomfortable choice. I'll say.
That's all I can think about. I just can't be.
Yeah.
I so appreciate people that are willing to put any amount of discomfort into their look because this is the one thing I can't do.
Yeah. That goes for all women with heels.
Yeah, shout out to y'all, man. I notice and I appreciate it. It's amazing.
Yeah. God bless y'all, man.
Facts.
That's why you got to keep that flats on deck.
Yeah, and I'll carry them too.
That's why
Yep.
the pink tax needs to be eradicated. Okay.
True.
Okay. One of the many reasons.
Hey, you want to know one of my favorite things that seems to be happening more and more in women's fashion? Y'all seem to finally be getting pockets. It's still hit or miss out there, but it seems like it's getting better.
It is getting better. There are still plenty of times where I'm just like, oh, yeah, it's got the pocket. Then it's a fake pocket.
That's the fake pocket's absurd. It's one thing when there's nothing on there, but when they stitch a pocket, but they just didn't
pocket is wild.
Yeah, that's always been the most like, I'm like, why would you do this to a human being? I don't understand.
Yeah, they want y'all to buy more purses, basically.
I actually love leaving the house without a purse. Like, give me some pants with some deep pockets and like.
You easily have a purse worth of storage in these pants right here. Between these two pockets, don't tell me they're fake now.
There's not enough given these.
Okay, all right. Well,
should have sized up.
They look great. Yeah, true. I went snowboarder with this size. I got the double XL.
Should have sized up.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. But at least th're there.
Yes.
Yeah.
At least they're there.
Yes.
You know, you could squeeze a phone in it.
Yeah.
It'll be a squeeze.
Yeah.
Be a squeeze.
Tight squeeze.
But you'll know you have your phone on you, though.
Yes.
You'll know it's there.
Yeah.
No, I think is that it? You got anything else?
Honestly, that's it, really.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
This
Good conversation.
This is fun. Yeah, no, this was fun. Man, it's still wild to me that literally your teachers, studio managers, was the mother of someone that started Tuckernuck and just happened to bring it in. Like, that's God. That's God.
I'm actually a little bit more impressed that you've been at the same place for that long. Like, that's rare for us. Like,
It's very rare.
We don't stay at jobs for that long.
It's very rare.
I was at my second job for 7 years. When I tell people that, they're like, what? 7 years? And I'm like, yeah, like, it was fun. It was a vibe. You know? I'm actually like, I probably would have stayed longer. It was a vibe. I enjoyed myself.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if the balance is there, then, you know.
Exactly.
Then, what's the problem?
Yeah. Nothing wrong with it.
Only if the balance is there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, I was just like, we ended up talking about it on the phone, but my dad has a really interesting quote. I don't know where he got it from, but he would always tell me that luck is a combination of being prepared and being in the right place at the right time. Because there's so many moments where like you could have seized the opportunity, but you weren't ready. It's kind of like people today. What do they say? Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. It's like that type of thing. Because you'll never know. You might just be at the gas station. You might find someone that's going to lead you to a place that you never would have thought you would have been to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, had I not been on my grind at that time, I might not have been able to seize the opportunity of someone coming in and saying, hey, got an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I could never have controlled the fact that that was going to happen that day. Never in a million years.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So what's next for you personally and professionally? What's going on?
What's next for me personally? I'm really trying to work with my family on building some generational wealth through land. So right now I'm learning about land trusts and learning about ways to actually acquire property, and then keep it in the family for long term. I'm big on that. That's what I'm obsessing over personally, and then professionally, I got my first studio space at the beginning of this year. In Northeast DC, and I've poured my all into it over the course of this year. I got it in February, and now it's feeling very, very settled. So I'm figuring out a way to really sum up my 20s and manifest it in a way physically for my friends and colleagues and such to be able to stop by. I got to have you guys by for sure.
Oh, facts.
To come see the vibes.
Our next photo shoot might have to be in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There are not a lot of studios. Well, from what I remember when I was doing that work, there weren't a lot of studios. We go out to Virginia a lot.
Yeah. No, you're right. There's still there might be, the only studios inside of DC are at 52 O Street. Off of North Capitol. Those are the only photo studios. There's a couple of heads in there, and they're really dope people. But if you're not in that building, I'm pretty sure there are actually zero commercially available photo studios. Yeah. And I can't count Tuckernuck's because it's a private one. Although I do want people to drop by. But it's it's not the same if you're like looking to do a shoot and you want to book a place. Right. They're in Virginia and Maryland and stuff. It's kind of a shame. But yeah, no, my space is actually it's different. I'll let y'all see it. It's different, but it's heavy on the music side. It's heavy on the music side. So whatever I do professionally next is actually going to be very, very much on the music side of things. Okay. Mm-hmm.
That's dope.
All right, let the people know where they can find you, social media, website, all that good stuff.
All right, cool. Well, you can find a version of me at least on Instagram. FK White with an underscore at the end is me. That's pretty much the only place that I'll update anything really. So I would say find me elsewhere, but I'm not elsewhere. You can find me in person. My email is foster@fkwhite.com. You can always email me and I will link up or chat with anybody or whoever. Or over near Georgetown is where Tuckernuck is. And if you find me personally and reach out to me, reach out if you want to, see what we're about over there. I'm always about having people come by. This man was nice enough to give some time over there, which I love seeing him there.
No, it was good. I appreciate it because I was at the time, I was still trying to figure out where I wanted to land in fashion. So I didn't know. So that was April. It was helpful to see the different positions. Like I got to talk to a art director. I got to talk to a producer. I got to talk to the stylist. Like they were very just open, just like, hey, ask anybody questions is what. So that was helpful. Like I've decided now, but that was definitely a good moment. And then it was just good because one of my childhood friends, Yogi, works there, and then just that day, one of the contractors, Dio, who was on our episode, he on our podcast as well too. He was working there that day, so like it was like felt like family. Like
so, the creative circle is small in the DMV area. It's very small. One person, you're only like 2 or 3 people away from most of everybody.
Yeah.
Facts.
But yeah, so that's where you can find me.
Okay. All right, and you can find us at Got This in Black, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Like, comment, share, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Yeah, that's it. But
everywhere.
Yeah, thank you again for coming by. This was a great conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. And until next time, our people.